And we are going. I just want to thank everyone for tuning in to this very special Living on Purpose podcast. I'm your host, Jesse Harriet. And for all others that are just tuning in, you can download this podcast via iTunes, Stitcher Radio, or you can listen to it via Live 365 or at jessharriet.com. My guest on this week is someone very special. She's a 20-something, just like myself, and I have to give a shout out to all of the younger generation, or those that are 20-somethings and those that feel they're a part of this generation. I call them the Generation Nexers, that are living their purpose and fulfilling their dreams and making moves in spirituality. None other than Ajit Kaur, and she can introduce herself when she comes on the line. And Ajit, you're already here, right?
I'm here, yes.
Great. Thank you so much, first of all, for agreeing to do this special interview.
Oh, well, thank you for having me.
I know you and your mom, you guys do a lot of workshops and stuff together, and you seem to be gone a lot, so I know. Yeah. Take us into your story, first of all. How did you discover your path? Regardless of the age of the person, I get lots of questions, and I'm sure you've seen this as well, where people are asking, how is it that I discover my purpose and what I feel I was born to do?
Wow, that's no small question.
I know.
I feel like there are many different things that have led me to this. I'm very grateful to have two parents who are very spiritual people and have just kind of given their lives to finding their purpose no matter what it took, and just letting that be the priority rather than at times sacrificing the financial stability or other people questioning what they were doing. And growing up with that example has really given me the kind of push to do that for myself and in my own life. Really just be open to what is mine, and even if that takes turns. And so recently it's taken the turn to focusing on music, and that really just feels right in my heart. So I guess that's the only way I know it's the right thing to be doing.
I love that you have that same essence that both your mom and your dad have, where they condense like information and they make it simple so that everybody can understand it. Because with me, it's like spirituality can be so complex, regardless of the paths or the traditions. But if it's not distilled into simple language, where you meet someone at the grocery store and you can't have a decent conversation with them, then it's like we aren't on our game enough, so to speak.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, it's not some big lofty thing. It's the experience we're having. So nice to be able to share about it with each other.
So how did you end up where you are? Because I love what you said with the first question, because I do think that's very important. Because a lot of people think that you wake up overnight and then you just have this epiphany. That works well for some people, but there are other people who are 40, 50, and 60 years old, and they're still kind of on the path, and they don't quite have that one big thing yet, but they have a bunch of different things that they connect together. So can you take us a bit into your story and your background? Like, what was it like going through school? When did you? Well, let me just say this: when did you know that this line of thinking was something that you wanted to make your own?
Yeah. Well, I grew up with with two parents who were very spiritual, but differently spiritual. My father is his background is in Catholicism, and he was a monk for a long time. And my mother met her spiritual teacher, Yogi Bhajan, who's a yogi in her 20s. So they're kind of these very different paths, but also similar in a lot of ways, that they had some similar values and focus on spirituality. So as I was growing up in school and with, all my peers, I just was I saw each of those as my parents' own path, and I thought someday I would find my own path, and it might look different than theirs, but I guess the first time I really started to resonate with the Sikh path or the yoga, it was throughout my childhood. But I went to this one camp when I was 9, and I went with my mother, and it was a women's camp, kind of a women's retreat. And there was this woman, Sonatam Kaur, who at the time was in her early 20s, and she was singing up on stage every morning. She would sing this beautiful song about the love of your life being in your own heart. And I was like just this little 9-year-old. I was so inspired by her.
Yeah.
And I just knew I wanted to grow up to have that kind of grace and that kind of beauty and projection that when she sings, it just goes right into your heart.
It does.
So I really resonated with that, and that was really the first time I felt like, okay, this singing part of this tradition isn't something that my mother necessarily does, but that's something that I really feel as my own. So that was my first kind of real connection to it being my own path, not just my parents.
And you know what? I love that you said that, because I've noticed that exposure is the best way. Like for those that are in college, you know, and you're trying to figure out what do you want to major in or what do you want to do with your life, and they always tell you, well, take a bunch of different classes, and then eventually something will come and it'll prick your ears. So, I mean, trying to figure it out, maybe you didn't quite know, you know, like prior to that workshop, trying to figure it out, you don't have the answer, but it's in that workshop, in that experience that you have that encounter. But you don't always see that encounter happening from afar. You have to kind of get in there, and then it happens.
Yeah, there are so many incredible traditions available to us at this time. You know, we just live in this amazing time where we have the internet, you know, and we have all these podcasts, and, you know, we can hear the Dalai Lama speak, and we can read all these amazing texts of all these traditions. So I do think that just being exposed to all of them and exploring, your heart knows when something is going to serve you.
I have to ask you your opinion, because I love to ask people this question. For those that, let's just say, right now, both you and I, we're in different stages in life. I'm married, and I'm like 20. I'm 27, and I have a kid. And you're not married or you don't have children yet, right?
No.
What's your advice for those that are in both of our stages? For those that are still single, or in a relationship but don't have any like serious, you know, all of those, you know, settled down obligations per se. Not to say you're not settled, but what's your advice for people that are in different stages of their awakening, so to speak? How do they discover that gift? Because I think you hinted on it earlier. Sometimes there are financial sacrifices that are intertwined in discovering your path. Because some people want to discover their path, but they can't devote, you know, all of their day to it. They have to, you know, work, you know, 95% of their day, and they spend 5% of that day working on their path. So what's your advice for people that are in different stages of unfoldment in life?
Yeah, I guess whatever stage you're in, you know, just giving yourself a time every day. That's what I do, is just, I have my morning practice, which is my time for that kind of inner exploration. And I think if you're in a situation like myself where you don't have as many kind of worldly obligations that are holding you in one place, it's beautiful. I'm very grateful at this moment to be able to travel to a lot of different communities and meet a lot of people, and kind of that's my way right now of connecting to my path, is to really travel and experience a lot. But I think even if you're in, you know, working a 9-to-5 job, you can still take some time at whatever the time is every day that you can commit to do some meditation or listen to a song that brings you peace, or whatever that connection is, to give it the priority, you know, every day. That's what's most important for me.
And I love that too, and I totally agree with that. Because I've seen in my own experience that, you know, we make, justifications for what we want to do, and then we make excuses for what we don't want to do. And all of us can kind of sort of get on that path, and it starts by every day making one step. You know, there's a saying, not saying I believe in eating elephants, but how do you eat an elephant? You know, one bite at a time. So every day we can make one step, and even if it's just a meditative, you know, moment where we take a few minutes at the end of our day, and it kind of sort of trickles down because it affects everybody. It's something that all of us can do regardless of our state, regardless of our obligations. All of us can kind of, you know, use that spiritual practice. So that's good. I love that.
Yeah, I think you're totally right. Just one step at a time, a little bit every day. And it's amazing what happens when you just do a little bit every day. I'm a musician, and so I think of it as like, you know, learning a musical instrument. If you just have a lesson once a week, it's, you kind of will pick it up eventually, but you're probably not really going to master that.
Mm-hmm.
And if you do even just 5 minutes a day, that's so much more effective for really learning that instrument. So I feel that way about my spiritual practice, and whatever your spiritual practice is, a little bit of that connection every day, it just really makes a huge difference.
Mm-hmm. I want to talk a bit about mentorship, because I think that's very important to both of us. How has mentorship played a role in your life? Because I believe that there are folks who are going to listen to this podcast and they have questions, because they love, what's being said, but they're still trying to find that mentor. Your mom has a wonderful saying for that. She talks about what you hinted at earlier in the Sanatam Kaur song about finding the love of your life in your own heart. But can you tell us a bit about how mentorship has played a role in your life, and maybe that'll help others who are looking and searching for mentors?
Yeah, well, it's been really hugely important in my life. People often, see that I wear a turban and my mom wears a turban. They think it must just be, she taught me to do that. But I really feel like it's the way that I'm living, it does have a lot to do with the mentorship of my parents,
mm-hmm.
but even more than that, it's those people I've met along the way that have just really inspired me and sparked something in myself. Sanatam Kaur is definitely one of those people
mm-hmm.
Who just kind of represented that way of uplifting a lot of people by just being herself, being in her own devotion. And I was very inspired by that. I also, I had some health issues when I was a child, and so my mom brought me to this healer named Guru Dev,
mm-hmm.
and he was just so incredible. He really healed my physical body.
Wow.
But more than that, I was so inspired by the fact that he could heal my physical body, and that every person who walks into his presence is healed. And so I started studying with him as well. I feel like just whenever you come across a person that really, lights something up within you, and you feel good in their presence, and you feel like you can be your best self in their presence, then that's, just spend as much time as possible with that person. That's kind of how I've felt about these mentors. They came into my life, and then I had a choice. How, do I want to put myself in their presence as much as possible,
mm-hmm.
or do I want to just let this be a one-time thing?
Mm-hmm.
So I guess that would be my advice about these relationships, is just really honor them and cherish them, because if someone makes you feel like you can really deepen yourself and learn more, put yourself there as much as possible.
That is good. Can I ask you a question? How old are you?
I'm 21.
Yes, that's good. Oh my God, this is great. Because to be talking like this and to have this sort of awareness, it's beautiful, because your life will just open up. I'm thankful that I was able to, in a sense, get there, and my awakening came in college. Like how most people where it happened in college. But to grasp hold of this information from the perennial philosophies, your life is just like the world becomes your playing field, in a sense. You can take this awareness and take it into any genre in any field. And with that said, I wanted to talk to you a bit about community and fitting in. What was having this awareness and moving through high school like, and then on to adulthood for you, and then post adulthood, as you're moving out into the world and into your own space, and all of that? What was that process like for you?
Well, it's been, it's definitely a huge part of spiritual practice and spiritual life. I think if you choose to be a spiritual person and also really be in the world, you get kind of both sides.
Mm-hmm.
You get people really appreciating it, and then also people kind of questioning it. I was very lucky, I think, to just grow up with very understanding friends, and through every stage of my life, high school, college, elementary school even, my friends have practiced yoga with me and, really gotten a lot from it. Many of my friends from both, elementary school and high school and even college have gone on to become yoga teachers and, just sharing it with me, which I'm so grateful for. But also I've had many friends who just, weren't interested in doing the practices I was doing, but they really honored the way that the practices served me. And so I feel like that's really all I hope for and for our world, really. Not that we do each other's practices necessarily, but just that we can, continue to honor that each person has their own path, and if they find something that uplifts them, to just really honor that and support them to do that. So I'm very grateful that I've had throughout all my stages of education and schooling, just very understanding communities and very supportive communities.
I love that because I've noticed through my own matriculation or whatever, it's like for us, I don't want to speak for all of us, but for some of us, that tribe mentality that we developed through high school, it kind of sort of sticks with us. And you see some people in their 30s and their 40s where it kind of, fizzles away and it's not about the tribe or the community so much. I'm at a stage in my life now where the tribe is kind of sort of fizzled away and I'm building a new tribe, so to speak. And it's funny how life changes, but I almost forgot my point there. But yet when you're building your tribe, it's like the friends that you have around you are those that hold you up and not so much those that criticize you, because friendships are important, and I don't believe that you're supposed to be in the world by yourself and alone for those of us that want to engage the world, because there's some people who have the hermetic lifestyle and it's fine for them, but there's still a sense of brotherhood or community there.
Yeah, definitely. And I do think that I'm so grateful for all the support and the friendships that have really understood what I was doing, but also there has been enough moments of people kind of wondering why I wear a turban or why I wake up early in the morning and not quite understanding that or getting that. And I think those moments when we criticize each other or misunderstand each other, those are also really important, because every time I explain to someone why I'm doing something, it reminds me of why I'm doing it. And I'm really grateful for that gift, the opportunity to kind of remember why I'm doing what I'm doing and to kind of re-evaluate what it is that I'm doing. And to share that with another person. So I do think those moments are very important opportunities to educate each other when we don't understand each other.
Right, and I think that's cool too, because it's like a borderline, between where it's like it's criticism versus, it's just constructive criticism. Like my wife and I, we often have these dialogues, and what ends up happening is another layer of, I guess, that infatuation stage you have with spirituality or spiritual practice, it drops off because it's like a constant reminder to, put your feet on the ground. It's good to go there, but then to come back. And it keeps me balanced. And like you, I've experienced that same duality going through school and through high school. You have some that kind of sort of understand you and get with you, then others, they question it. But what's interesting is to see everybody grow up around you, like your friends and stuff, and then to watch spirituality take on its own form throughout their lives. Some of the same ones that thought that you were a little bit different kind of matriculate into their own weirdness as they get older. They find their own form of spiritual practice, so it all comes full circle.
Yeah, definitely. And you never know, I always feel that way when I'm teaching yoga. I've worked a lot with inner city youth and teenagers, and a lot of the time they're just, they think I'm the weirdest person when I come in with my all white and turban and all my mantras, But then they often, some little seed is planted, and then I'll hear from them again, maybe even a couple of years later, that there was some moment when something from these teachings served them. So it doesn't have to be a huge life-changing awakening, when you share something with someone. It's just maybe it's something that will serve them at some point in their life. So it's always a nice reminder that they don't have to get what you're saying immediately. and we don't have to get what other people say to us immediately. We can be patient with each other.
Thank God, yeah. I want to ask you a bit about yoga. Russell Brand, of course, I'm sure you know who Russell Brand is and everyone else that's going to listen, but Russell Brand was a popular comedian. He's a big yogic practitioner. When you listen to him talk and just unfold about life and awareness, it just blows your mind. And Russell Simmons, who's also one of the fundamental reasons why Eckhart Tolle blew up, I guess, to say that, because he took the book, The Power of Now, and gave it to Oprah, and then Eckhart Tolle met Oprah. Those two guys are big yogic practitioners, and they talk about it as a philosophy that kind of sort of, it's not all about religion per se, because you can be a Christian yogi, a Buddhist yogi, you can be, it's a philosophy or a way of life. Unpack yoga for us. For those that don't know much about it per se as a science, they think it's all, just the outward dress. Can you unpack yoga for us?
Yeah, well, there are so many different kinds of yoga. The kind of yoga I practice is Kundalini yoga. And so people kind of often think of Kundalini yoga as a more spiritual yoga. It's very kind of holistic. We have a lot of chanting as well as physical postures and asanas, a lot of breath work, pretty much the whole, everything that you would imagine maybe being part of yoga is part of Kundalini yoga. It's a very holistic approach. It is definitely possible to be in any kind of tradition, any mindset, any person, and practice yoga, because it is, as you mentioned, it's a science. It's really it's a technology to affect the way you feel. It's not a belief system at all. So it's really about experience. Any beliefs that people have are really coming from that experience that yoga offers. So yoga means union. It really just offers people an experience, and if that experience serves you, it means union. Yoga means union. So it's a union with your own soul and a union with that divine that is outside of you and within you. So that's kind of the purpose of yoga, is to have that feeling of union.
Yeah, I love that, because I've seen Russell Simmons take this whole idea of yoga as a science and just bring this consciousness to the business world and to the urban, digital, hip-hop, 20-something community, and it revolutionized the way young people are living. So many people are knocking those that are in their 20-somethings and in their teens because it's a bit different, but I think a lot of older folks have forgotten the impact of the revolution that they came up under, during the 60s and the 70s, that transformation of culture and rock and roll and all of that. It's going to manifest itself in different ways, but I mean, look at technology now and Facebook and all of these social connections that we have. It's because of this consciousness, expanding our minds to the capacity where we think outside the box, and we don't have those limits placed on us. It's because of technologies like this that expand our awareness.
Yeah, and I think it's really inspiring how many different styles of yoga there are, and how popular it's becoming. It's really great just to see people like Russell Brand or other celebrities really just expressing how much these practices, these spiritual practices, can help you. Some people I know think that spirituality becoming so trendy is a bad thing, but I think it's pretty great actually. That what better to have a trend of than people finding that source of peace within them.
Right, and some of these people, they have their public personas like some of us do, but they're hard practitioners. I mean, they're in there, they're doing the work, and it's a part of their lives, and that public persona that we see is fueled through their spiritual work. That's why they're so successful. I mean, that was a part of their calling and their gift, and all the yogic philosophy and technologies of the soul did was just expand them and make them more of who they are and allow them to walk into their gifts.
Yeah, exactly.
So I want to talk a bit about spiritual practices. What are some spiritual practices that you recommend that all of us can incorporate, regardless of our understanding of yogic philosophy or other technologies of the soul per se, or belief systems? What are some practices you recommend that we could do on a daily basis?
Yeah, well, the tradition I'm most familiar with and that I use is Kundalini yoga, and it really is an incredible practice. It's very fast all yogas are wonderful. Kundalini yoga is really a nice one for this time because a lot of us don't have too much time. You know, we don't have all day to be practicing, and Kundalini yoga works very quickly. And so, yeah, I recommend just if you're looking for a practice, giving it a try, finding a class or a workshop. There's also some great kind of online communities and resources. Like I work with Spirit Voyage, and they're a music label, but they're also offer a lot of yogic practices and ways of learning them in a very kind of approachable way. We do these global sadhanas where everyone does the same meditation every day from wherever they are all over the world. We're doing one of those right now. So yeah, I recommend just looking for those places where you can give these practices a try. They really serve me in so many ways in my life, and as I said, that's the tradition and the practice that I know best, and that really serves me. So that's what I can recommend.
What are some simple meditative techniques that we could do? You know, like for those of us that don't even know how to do that, because I mean, that knowledge and that awareness of just simply how to find a Kundalini community, or if you're in a small town and there aren't any communities around, or let's just say you're having bad internet connection, what are some ways that we can connect with the love of our, within our own soul?
Well, one thing that we do that's very simple, that definitely serves me a lot, is to just breathe long and deep, and to, in those moments when you're feeling emotional or you're feeling stressed, to take that time to lengthen your breath, and you can put a mantra, we call these mantras, it's just a phrase that directs your mind to a certain place. You can put the mantra Sat Nam with your breath. So as you inhale, you're inhaling Sat. As you exhale, Nam. And you're just kind of thinking these words as you breathe, inhaling Sat and exhaling Nam. Sat means true, and Nam means identity, your essence. So as you're in that moment of life is, getting to you and you're feeling emotional, if you inhale Sat and exhale Nam, it's just a way of recentering back to the truth that is within you. And it's very relaxing, very peaceful.
And it brings you right down. Real quick, I know you have to go, but I want to talk a bit about the CD and the different projects you have going on. Tell us a bit about this latest project.
Well, this is my first CD, so I'm very excited. I made it with a wonderful producer, Thomas Berkey, and it's just such an amazing experience, and I'm very happy to share it with you. It's called Sacred Waters, and it's to move from emotion to devotion. The CD actually has 3 meditations in it. So we have songs on the CD, but then when you buy the actual physical CD, you get these meditations actually inside the cover of the CD. So that's kind of what I'm most excited about this CD, is that it's giving music, but it's also making it very easy for people to try these practices with the music.
Beautiful, beautiful. And at the end of this podcast, we'll play a small clip as we mix it down for those that are tuning in. How can we find out more information about what you're doing, Ajit, and how can we keep up with your work? What's your website?
My website is ajitkarmusic.com, and you can also keep up with me very easily on spiritvoyage.com. Those two direct you to me and all the things I'm doing very easily.
Beautiful. Well, I wish you the best of luck, and I'm definitely going to stay in contact with you. I love the work that you're doing. You're making us 20-somethings proud. Keep going, girl. We got your back.
And you too.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Govinda, 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 Govinda. 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 हमारी करो हाथ दायरन शापुर न होए चित्त की इच्छा तब झाड़ना मन रहा हमारा अपना जान करो प्रतिपारा हमारी करो हाथ दायरन शापुर न होए चित्त की इच्छा तब झाड़ना मन रहा हमारा अपना जान करो प्रतिपारा Govinda, 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 Govinda. 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 Protect me with thine own hand, my only desire. Let my heart rest under thy feet. Sustain me. Govinda, 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 Govinda. Govinda, 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 Govinda. Govinda, 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 Govinda. Govinda, 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 Govinda. हमारी करो हाथ दायरा शापुर न होए चित्त की इच्छा अब छाड़ना मन रहा हमारा अपना जान करो प्रतिपाला हमारी करो हाथ दायरा शापुर न होए चित्त की इच्छा अब छाड़ना मन रहा हमारा अपना जान करो प्रतिपाला Govinda, 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 Govinda. 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 Govinda, 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 Govinda.